In front of me right now, we've got two of the fastest smartphones on the planet. So we're going to start with the extreme one, and then we're going to get to the extra extreme one. Yeah. First up then is the Red Magic 5G. Pretty funky looking box. I quite appreciate something that's different. So first up is the smartphone. Weighty bit of kit at over 200 grams. A little insert with a funny hexagonal camera cutout. You've got a charger. Strangely, the phone can support insane 55-watt fast charging, but it only comes with an 18-watt charger. There's a black and red USB-C cable, and then manuals. So elaborate looking box, yes, but nothing really of note inside. But that's because pretty much all resources are being used to make the best possible phone. I will say this, the Red Magic 5G flies in the face of subtlety. It's a non-conformer from every angle compared to the sea of smooth, elegantly shaped flagship phones nowadays. But if anything, this is for people who just don't care. Or actually, if anything, people who are actively trying to be different. You've got hexagonal camera cutouts, you've got ridges and buttons and cutouts on every side of the phone. Even your volume rocker is ridged to accentuate this aggressive design, and there's a glowing logo on the back. The best way to describe this phone is basically as a market-leading spec sheet for a surprisingly affordable price. So get this, it starts at less than $600. The exact price isn't finalized yet, but for that, you get a 6.55-inch AMOLED display with a world-leading 144Hz refresh rate, a top-level Snapdragon 865 chipset, up to 16 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM, and 256 gigs of the fastest UFS 3.0 storage. There's a 4,500 mAh battery, the phone has 5G, and its camera can record 8K video. So that's pretty cool. On paper, this basically looks like goodbye Samsung. It's offering equivalent if not better specs for quite literally half the price. I kinda wish I was spec'd that well. And there's actually more cool stuff that isn't immediately obvious from the spec sheet. A cracking set of stereo speakers, one on the front and one on the bottom. You've got a headphone jack, which is a rarity these days. And get this, a liquid cooling system assisted by a physical fan inside the phone. So these sort of grills you see on the side, they're actually exhausts so that cold air can enter and hot air can leave. So would I swap my $1,400 Galaxy S20 Ultra phone to use it? Well, if my primary objective with my phone was gaming, then yeah, I probably would. First of all, this isn't just a case of let's throw everything into one phone and hope it works. The performance of the Red Magic speaks for itself. To give you an idea, on Antutu benchmark, while my Samsung scores a solid 500,000, this phone has the highest benchmark score I've ever seen, borderline 600,000. And while my phone, and a lot of phones, they'll start to kind of throttle their performance as they overheat, the Red Magic didn't. I mean, this is a phone that is built for sustained performance. But I will say, this fan, the one on the inside, can make quite a racket. Let me show you. So this is what it sounds like when you flick the switch and turn it into gaming mode. It's tough to describe though, just how fast this feels thanks to that display. Swiping through home screens, it feels like slicing warm butter. I don't really know how that makes sense, but it's an embodiment of how it feels. So anyways, I thought I've got quite possibly the most powerful smartphone on the planet in my hands. It's built for gaming, so let's play a game. And I've been told for a while to try one called Honkai Impact. So I sat myself down and spent 2 solid hours just playing and observing. And a few thoughts. Firstly, I can see why the recommendations were pouring in. This literally felt like I was playing an animated film. It was beautiful and played insanely smooth in a way that I've got no chance of showing on camera. And coming from a phone like the Galaxy S20 Ultra, my initial thought was that because this screen doesn't spill around the sides and you've got a border, that it would bother me. But to be honest, after 2 minutes of playing, you kind of stop noticing it. And of course, because this is an extreme gamer phone, there's more. The phone has capacitive shoulder buttons. I didn't really find myself needing them here, but what I did play around with was this menu, and it's just ludicrous the extent to which you get to adjust things. I didn't think people took mobile gaming this seriously. Things like different color profiles to better highlight enemies in certain games, and different sound profiles, some that'll bring out the background music, and other ones that can draw your attention to enemy footsteps so you can locate them. Not to mention, you can even individually tune your CPU and GPU performance. Like I said, it's just bizarre. So, based on my time with it, would I recommend this phone to gamers? Yes. Is this the perfect phone that everyone should just drop what they're doing right now, run out and buy? Probably not. But I almost think with the right software, it could be. There's obviously a bunch of minor hardware things missing, things like wireless charging and an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, but the biggest problems I had with the phone were actually all software related, and to be honest, that's a good position to be in. For example, just the general software appearance. This user interface looks dated, kind of what people would have thought was cool 10 years ago, but credit where due, the phone has a sick charging animation, which actually changes based on whether or not the fan is spinning, but like no camera app should ever look like this. Or just the camera itself. And let me be very clear, this is actually a perfectly good quality 64 megapixel camera. The hardware is there, and you can shoot genuinely usable 8K video from it. Like this shot right here, I could crop all the way in and it's still sharp. But the image processing software is where the problem lies. It doesn't handle dynamic range nearly as well as the sensor is capable of. And the AI on this phone, when it tunes the colors of your photos, it's so heavy-handed that your photos can swing from this to this, just depending on whether or not the phone recognizes what it's shooting. It is early software though, so we can cut it some slack. And for the most part, I'm excited to see where Red Magic goes with their affordable, extreme phones. Also, if you are enjoying this video, a sub to the channel would be amazing. But now, welcome to a smartphone that is more expensive, but in a lot of ways it dials things up to the next level. This is the Black Shark 3 Pro, and as well as the phone, the company sent the additional accessories that you could buy separately. I feel like I'm unboxing medical equipment here. So, there's a not Joy-Con, a controller for the phone, a European charging brick, because I'm assuming the phone's box has an American one. You've got the grip that allows you to attach the not Joy-Con onto, and a USB-C charging cable, and this is cool. They call this the Fun Cooler, which I thought was pretty hilarious considering it looks like anything but a piece of equipment that's messing around. You'd be cooling a nuclear reactor with this. Okay, so that phone. It's a nice box, treading that line between class and glam. Inside you got your standard insert, but each part of this package feels like it's really had some love put into it. And it contains some manuals and a case that I gotta say I wasn't expecting. Not sure about this one, to be honest. There's the smartphone, an American power brick, and another charging cable. My very first impression was actually a moment of contemplation, because never in my life have I held a bigger smartphone. In terms of the way it looks, I think the company's last Black Shark 2 Pro phone was actually a pretty damn cool device. This one I'm not as convinced by, but there is a lot of cool stuff going on here. The symmetry and the fact that the camera protrusion is small means that actually this is a really comfortable phone to hold when you're gaming. You get these matte rails on the sides and a vinyl texture in the middle, which I'm assuming are all there to give you more grip. I have no idea though what kind of hands you'd need to reach this power button. Just look at it. So you're probably wondering, just how big is this phone? Well, you're looking at a 7.1 inch Quad HD Plus 90Hz AMOLED display with a 270Hz touch response. And bear in mind, not tiny bezels either, so it feels even bigger than it sounds. It's like an XL model of the already enormous Galaxy S20 Ultra. The phone's powered by the Snapdragon 865 chip, and 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of UFS 3.0 storage, 5000 mAh battery, 65 watt charging. This isn't supercharge anymore, this is hypercharge. I just love these smartphone marketing terms. There's dual front-facing stereo speakers, a headphone jack again, we're on a roll here, and one of the most surprising features, physical shoulder buttons. You play a game, they apparate into view, and then the second you leave, they disappear. They even automatically retract if you drop your phone, so yeah, it works. It's so cool. Plus, I think they've pulled off the whole gaming look well. It's still clear you're holding a gamer phone, but the software doesn't feel in your face and obnoxious. And even though this isn't a 144Hz display, it still feels so fast. Like, you get this subtle reassurance that nothing could ever challenge it. And one thing I noticed pretty early on was how much I liked this display. Like, having a 7.1 inch screen comes with its own set of very real compromises, but this almost made me want to try and look past them. It's got a certain level of clarity, and when you're watching videos, even if they were filmed at 25 frames per second, it can upgrade them to 90. So I can sit here watching back my own videos that were filmed at 24, and they'll actually look better than when I recorded them. But okay, gaming phone, let's game. And actually, while we're at it, we've got this frankly nuts looking cooler, so let's stick it on and see how that works. The game of choice was Call of Duty Mobile, so I clicked this switch to enter the dedicated gaming space. I turned on ludicrous mode, which maximizes the chipset, puts the display at its max touch sampling rate, and prioritizes your network speed in-game. And off we went. These shoulder buttons surprise me. I've tested a lot of smartphone gadgets that try to emulate this functionality, and at best they're a more comfortable way to do what your phone can already do, but these actually made me better. Admittedly, when it comes to Call of Duty Mobile, that's like polishing a turd, but hey, I felt more precise and more in control. The only thing I would say is that after prolonged periods, it doesn't matter if you have triggers or a nice grippy back. This is never going to be as comfortable as holding, say, a dedicated Xbox One controller. So after a bit I did have to put it down, take a breather, and then come back. But still, the graphics, the frame rate, the controls are all the best I've ever had on an Android phone. Also, in case it wasn't clear, this cooler is unlike anything you've ever seen before. Yes, it has a massive fan on it, but the fan is just a part of it. The thing actually needs active power to work, because below that fan is effectively a freezer for your phone, so cold that when you take it off after playing, you literally feel like you want to leave it out in the sun to defrost. The phone is still lacking in the camera department, only slightly better than the Red Magic, and I can't stress enough that something of these dimensions is not for everyone. But there can be certain pros to having a gaming phone, things that are added in to make the gaming experience better, but they have a side effect of actually making the general phone experience better. For example, the dual stereo speakers added in to help you locate enemies when playing, they bring videos to life. The high-end haptic engine in the phone, built to give vibrations in-game, also just means that everything from typing to touching gives you really satisfying physical responses. Alright, so which of these phones would you pick? The Red Magic for around $600, or the Black Shark at closer to $700? Thanks for watching, my name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you in the next one.